think the challenges of town life, I really feel for grassroots Papua New Guineans, especially the ones living in the towns, because I think their life is really hard. The cost of living is so high that I think it's very hard to survive in the town. And then, of course, when you've got customary obligations as well. So the way I understand it, is if you're a member of a family and you are one of the lucky ones who gets educated and then you become richer, your family will, rely on you. Yeah, and I think that puts a big burden on those educated people who are living in the towns. I think that is a challenge. I think that the best part of life in Papua New Guinea is in the rural areas, in the villages where people have low-cost housing, house kunai, beautiful house kunai, a garden to plant, fresh water, and all of that. Whereas in the towns, because you've got urban drift, people going to the towns thinking that they'll get a job, and of course there's unemployment, and then that leads to crime, and that makes life difficult for the people living in Papua New Guinea. But it also is I think the issues with the law and order problem is a deterrent to tourism, and to me this is really sad, because Papua New Guinea, I would say, it is one of the most unique places in the world both for culture and geography, wildlife, and everything. But a lot of people are frightened to come because they hear the stories of the dangers. Now, on my trip here, I haven't felt frightened at all. My boys had a brief incident at Koki Market, which frightened them a little bit. But I forgot to tell them. I should have said to them when they were in Port Moresby, don't get a taxi and drive with your windows down into Koki Market. I forgot to tell them that, and so they got a little bit of a fright when somebody tried to sort of put their hand through the window and so on. So, but then that taught them a lesson, and since they were teenagers in Port Moresby, I think they realise it's a little bit different now. Yeah. So that was a good lesson for them. But that was the only thing that happened. For the rest of their trip, they had the most wonderful time. They really did. Yeah. Yeah. So I think the law and order issue is something that needs to be addressed. And to me, that's a really hard thing to address. It's easier said than done. So the challenges of that are the challenges of population. There's so many people here, and I'm worried that the census is probably not going to be very accurate. And therefore you have to ask the question, well, if the Papua New Guinea government doesn't really know how many people that they have, how can they allocate resources accurately, or appropriately to the needs of the people? Yeah. So that's one thing that worries me a bit. I'm just quickly reading my okay. Another question, Mullum. Have I answered that one?
So how do you see the country going over the next 50 years?
Yeah. Okay. Well,
give us your honest
Yes. Okay. I suppose I have a very positive feeling about Papua New Guinea, even though I know there's a lot of negative publicity about the law and order issues, and So when I told some of my friends I'm coming to Papua New Guinea, if you read TripAdvisor, it's scary. There's all this, and I said, no, I'm not going to read TripAdvisor. I said, I'm going back to visit all my friends, my ex-students, my family from Arau. I know I'll be safe with them. Yeah. So, and I have been. Yeah. So. Yeah, so I think I have a very hopeful feeling about PNG. And the reason I have that hopeful feeling is even though I absolutely understand the challenges, there's issues with corruption, for example, and of course that has to be stamped out. There's nothing more evil than corruption. But then I look at the legacy of the national high school system and the students that we taught, and I look at those fine, upstanding, highly, moral and driven young men and women, and I know that they represent the immediate future of the country. Okay, so their children come later, but that generation of students who we taught during that period of time, they are now in positions of great authority, and what I find really heartwarming is I have been amazed at how many have told me about their jobs in kind of social justice areas, social justice, agriculture. Like one of my ex-students is working in the coffee industry, but not just to make money, but to actually bring up the coffee industry so that more benefit can go to the people. So there's, the entrepreneurs who are against great odds. They're pushing forward with their business ideas, and then when things go wrong, they dust themselves off and they say, "I'm not going to give up. I shall keep trying. I will keep going." And I'm just so impressed with the quality, the high level of integrity, and the heart of those students who are now the leaders and the movers and shakers of Papua New Guinea. So I feel very confident, yeah. And I think, my lasting impression of Papua New Guinea, and this is from this visit, but also all through my life growing up here and working here, I just love the joy. The Papua New Guinean people have this natural joy and happiness that they share with everybody. And a lot of people in Australia, they say, "Rosalie, you laugh a lot, maybe you laugh too loud." I actually think that I learnt to laugh because of the influence of my Papua New Guinea upbringing, and all the people that I taught with, all the teachers, the Papua New Guinea teachers that I taught with at Ayura. When I was teaching English upstairs in my classroom at Ayura, and I went to visit my old classroom just last week, and the other teachers, so there was Mrs. Dingu, her classroom was over there, Anna Keeler's classroom was down there, Paul Gautier, so all these teachers from everywhere, including Papua New Guinean and expats, and we all got on so well. Like we would all walk into each other's classrooms and we'd all be laughing, and the students would be laughing, and it was a happy time. Yeah. And so I think the quality of the people, the natural joy that they feel, and their amazing sense of humour, and to me that is a lasting impression. Yes, Miss have like story one time over Papua New Guinea. Nah, hamamas, nah. Yeah, sit down, nah. Enjoy each other's company. And I've told my students they have to come and see me in Queensland.
Anything else?
Oh, okay, let me check my notes. Yes, one more thing. Yeah, I just want to say thank you, a big thank you to all the different groups of people that have welcomed us. Going back to our visit to Arau Plantation, then the cultural centre in Kainantu. Everywhere I went in Kainantu, people would come up to me and say, "Oh, You picking it on Mrs. Larner, yeah. So I used to be her caddy on the golf course. Once a guy said to me at the hospital the other day. So people come up to me the whole time I've been here and said, welcome back to Kainantu and or Arau or Ayura, and so we have felt so overwhelmed with the love and the joy and the respect. So what more could we ask for, to come back on such an amazing pilgrimage?
Thank you.
Thank you, Malam.
Okay.